Welcome to Spiritual Psychology. My name's Renee McKenna. I'm a therapist and healer in San Francisco. And today I want to talk about being undefended. And I'm going to start with a quote from one of my favorite books. And it's actually called The Undefended Self. It's by Susan Thesenga. And it's based on a work very similar to the spiritual psychology work that I do called the path work. Susan says, within every human heart lives a place where we long for union. This place is the undefended self. This impulse is the desire for union with self, with others, and with the essence of life, that mystery which we call God. Opening to the path work was part of my beginning to become an undefended person. I read into this book, and it's really high-level information. It's available free online at pathwork.org. They have all kinds of lectures. This woman, Eva Periakos, did lectures from the 1950s to the 1970s when she passed away. And it's channeled material. And, I'm from Boston. We're totally practical. I'm like, channeled what? That's too freaky and weird for me. But I read this information, and it's really quality personal growth information. Whenever I read pathwork material, it just speaks to my heart and gives me new ways to look at myself and others, and always challenges me to grow. And personal growth is my passion. And becoming an undefended person is really part of becoming a grown-up and part of being able to live fully engaged, being able to give and receive from our best self. I just released my first book, Allies and Demons, Working with Spirit for Power and Healing. On the eve of my book release party last week, I could feel this insecurity coming up in me, this old thing that used to happen. I'm also an artist. I do a lot of paintings, and for years I couldn't paint. I had a really bad relationship with my art because my art was related with my worth as a person. So I would do a painting or a drawing, and I would show it to someone, and I'd be like, is this good? And basically I was asking them, am I good? Am I good enough? I'd like hang on their reaction to my artwork. And if it was positive, I would feel like, oh, I'm a good enough person. And if their reaction was, mediocre or disinterested, then I'd feel wounded in my soul. And that level of insecurity really drove me crazy. And it drove me to lots of weird behavior. My experience is a lot of people have that level of insecurity. Where do we get our security from? Where do we ground ourselves? And often we ground ourselves in the perceptions or attitudes or behaviors or relationships we have with others. And it's very easy to determine my worth as a person based on how other people see me or treat me. So the downside of being dependent upon the approval of others is that the locus of how I'm determining how I act and what I say and how I dress and what I do is based on trying to get you to approve of me, rather than coming from my own internal place, my own authentic self. We're all an aspect, as far as I'm concerned. I think we're all little tiny aspects of divinity. We're all little tiny pieces of consciousness, all unique configurations of brokenness and brilliance. And we're supposed to express who we are in the world. If we don't have faith in who we are and need the approval of other people, then we're going to be acting from such a place of trying to be what you want me to be, or what I think you want me to be. Developing this false self. They talk about this in the pathwork a lot. They call it the mask self. And most of us have a social mask where we want to be approved of. We want to get Sometimes those masks were developed as children as a way to survive dysfunctional families and to be able to, manage dad's anger or mom's control. But we developed these ways of being, trying to get other people to approve of us, wanting to have that connection and love. And we developed this false self that we think other people will like. The problem is when other people do like that false self, then on some level we know that the part of us that they're attached to is actually a mask. And that essence, our soul essence, our heart essence, our inner child essence, whatever those central parts of us, our own authentic self, knows that it's not being appreciated for what it is. The actual connection that we really crave for, that authentic connection of our deepest self with another person, doesn't happen because we aren't bringing our own deepest self out in an undefended way. And this is a tragedy. It's a lot of what my work is about, is to be able to dissolve the mask self and be able to find the resources of power and courage and support that we need to be able to bring who we really are, our own brokenness and brilliance, into our relationships, into the world, and to make connections from that place. And those authentic connections are incredibly nourishing and healing and transformative and creative. But a lot of times I've spent a lot of my life defending myself from perceived hurts or some idea that I'm going to get rejected or abandoned and not getting what I want. Basically, getting hurt as a grown-up means not getting what I think I want. And I have to say, thank God, many times in my life, I don't get actually what I think I want. Because I don't always know what's best for me. But I developed these barriers, these ways of trying to protect myself. Again, I released the book, and this really came up for me because I was thinking, is this book good enough? Is this work? The work is sacred work. I have no question about the depth and efficiency, effectiveness, the power of this work. But I didn't make the work up. I'm just talking about it and trying to create a vehicle to bring that work. Am I good enough? I can watch that insecure part of myself and know that's a part of me that needs to be cared for. It is not the part I want running the bus. I do not want my fear and insecurity driving the bus. That part, that's my wounded part that needs to be cared for. I still do this work myself. I'm not coming from a place of being healed. I'm still a member doing the work. What I realized, it got very clear to me, was that attitude of what can I bring rather than what can I get is the optimal place to come from when I'm really approaching anything in life. When I'm asking, what can I give to the situation? Then I'm actually tapping into my authentic self. I'm tapping into spirit. I'm tapping into the life force to move through me in whatever way, whatever my particular flavor is I bring to the world, and trying to bring my best self to it. When I'm asking, what can I get, or afraid of what I'm going to lose, the energy turns around and I become like a bottomless pit. There's never enough. When I'm asking, am I okay? Am I good enough? There's actually never enough affirmation. There's never enough positive influence. No one can love me, think I'm beautiful, think I'm fabulous enough to actually fill that place. It's like a black hole. The solution is to actually flip that around and to ask, what can I give? And when I do that, I really can feel my own fullness. And maybe I need to gather other resources to be able to be in that place. Those resources actually connect me with other people. Writing this book has been incredibly instructive in this process. I'm still in a huge learning curve. Almost everything I'm doing right now is outside my comfort zone in one way or another. I'm taking voice narration lessons to try to learn how to do my audiobook. I'm learning this Infusionsoft software, which is like a email, how to send everything out digitally, which is a whole thing. I'm trying to learn how to do Facebook ads and all this crazy stuff I don't know anything about. And I need so much help. And there are so many brilliant, generous, loving, amazing people out there. I don't need to be on my own. And isolation, I think, is really the source of so much suffering. Feeling disconnected, not having that deep union that Susan Thesenga talked about in the Undefended Self quote, that we seek that union. And can I trust that exactly where I am, exactly how I am right now, is perfect, and that the needs that I have and the aspirations that I have and the suffering I have and the joy that I have, that all those can work together if I can be open and honest about those, ask for what I need, and be open to receive. Most of us are much better at giving than we are at receiving. And life is breathing in and breathing out. And if I'm only giving, if I'm only trying to be perfect and trying to look like I'm adequate and got it all wrapped up, then I'm only breathing out. I'm only putting things out. And if I have no needs, then there's no breathing in. There's no receiving. And if I don't breathe in, I'm actually going to suffocate. And I think we do suffocate. We suffocate spiritually. We suffocate relationally. We suffocate socially. We're so materially, we live like kings. We live better than kings and queens did for hundreds of years, just in all the affluence and material prosperity that we have. But spiritually, emotionally, socially, we're deprived. We're often living in a desert. We don't know how to take in the connection and the vulnerability, the love, the joy, the fulfillment, the authentic connection that we really, really crave. You know, we live, speaking of kings and queens, we live often in castles, very defended. We have everything all together, thank you very much. We have our walls up and the moat is protecting us so that no one gets in to hurt us. The problem with castle walls is that they can also become prisons, and they can keep us from being able to actually leave our fortress and make the real connections that we want. And so I found this other quote by Max Lerner. He's a columnist and author from the 1900s. The turning point in the process of growing up is when you discover the core of your strength within you that survives all hurt. And you know, as I was contemplating releasing this book and kind of stepping out into the world in a new, undefended way, because I really want to be undefended, I really want to drop all that old stuff. There is almost nothing that could happen in my life that I can't survive. Even the death of my children. I have watched people walk through the death of their children. There's very little that could happen to me that hasn't already happened twice. Been divorced, I've filed bankruptcy, I've been homeless, I'm a recovering drug addict, I've been a criminal, I've had tremendous success too. And so what? What am I so afraid of? What are we so afraid of? That my feelings might get hurt? And I miss so many opportunities for authentic connection by not revealing who I truly am. And I have found that when I can vulnerably and authentically express myself and be open to the world, amazing things happen. You know, I really believe that we do create our reality. We create our reality with the 1,000 million choices we make and with our attitude. And when I have a fearful, closed, constricted attitude, the universe responds to me in the same way. And when I'm open and generous and loving, that comes back to me too. Now, it's a funny thing. Is it actually the universe coming back to me in a different way, or is it the lens through which I view reality? Because, we all wear glasses based on our internal perspectives and our usually our past experience. We all have a lens through which we see the world that things get filtered in. And it reminds me of, I was at a workshop one time, and there was a woman there, and she had some mental health issues, and I think she hadn't taken her meds for a few days. And and we had an opportunity to share. And so she was sharing, and she didn't really have a good sense of social cues, and she shared too long, basically. She was taking up time that could have been for other people. And the person leading the group very gently said to her, "Listen, thank you so much for sharing, but I need you to wrap up so that we can give other people a time to share." And the woman had been sharing quite deeply about her suffering and actually feeling like she wasn't getting her needs met. And she completely imploded. She actually put her fingers in her ears and started to kind of moan to herself and rocked back and forth for the rest of the half an hour that we were in the group. So she absolutely blocked out anything that anyone was saying. She totally imploded and took this person cutting her off as like an attack. The tragedy of that, this was so powerful for me, was that every person in the group, because her share had been really heartfelt, every person in the group actually shared to her, shared about how much they identified and how much they really wanted her to be well, and gave her different advice and identification. And there were all these beautiful outreachings to this woman. And she heard none of it because she felt attacked. She completely defended herself in this really visceral way of actually like covering her ears and rocking back and forth, closing her eyes so she could take in nothing. It was super dramatic. But I have to say, even at the time, I thought, we all do that. Hers is kind of at the radical extreme, but in subtle ways, how often do I think I'm asking for something and then completely block out being able to actually receive it because I don't expect it, and I'm actually more attached to getting what I expect, even if it's negative, than opening to the possibility of something new. It stuck with me. That was probably 20 years ago. It really stuck with me that I know I'm that woman in my own very subtle way, that I close my ears and I close my eyes to all that life is bringing to me. And I want to be done with that. How do I stay undefended? How do I stay open and vulnerable and just let myself, I'll have my feelings. I might get what I want. I might not get what I want. But I have found I always get what I really need. If I can be with it deeply, I always get what I really need. I'm always being called to grow, and the resources that I need to do and to participate in that growth process are always available to me. And so I'm going to challenge you to be undefended. Where in your life can you be more authentic? Can you be more vulnerable? Can you ask the question, what can I bring here that's true and authentic? Even if it's your pain. What I can bring doesn't always have to be joy and light. It may be my pain. It may be my suffering. It may be my difficulties. To share those honestly and openly with another and make space for them to do the same. 2020 for me is a year of being undefended. And I'd love to hear how being undefended benefits you in your life today. My book is live on Amazon, Allies and Demons, Working with Spirit for Power and Healing. And you can find it on my website at reneemckenna.com. I'm also available for individual sessions, and I have some exciting workshops coming up. We have a monthly shamanista drumming circle The next one's going to be on Friday, January 24th, here in Ocean Beach. And I'm also having a Your Boat, Your Compass vision, intention, and goal setting workshop on Saturday, January 25th. If you want more information about those, again, you can look at my website or shoot me an email, info@reneemckenna.com. So blessings on your path. Until we meet again, this is Renee McKenna with Spiritual Psychology.